Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday. What day is it? The summer gets a little bit confusing for me. Does anybody else feel that way where they have no idea what the heck time and day it is in the summer? But it's 10 a.m. Central Time on Wednesday, the 21st of July, according to my computer. So I'm going to go with that. So I'm not sure what has happened to summer, but I feel like it has flown by, maybe because we've been kind of in and out of town, I think trying to make up for lost time. Has anybody else, let me know if you guys have been doing the same thing where you're taking all the trips. Like we have been taking all the trips. Last week, we were in Wisconsin. So we had it's probably the longest trip we've taken with the full family last week. We did 9 days. With my 4 and 7-year-old, went to Chicago. We went up to the Wisconsin Dells for a couple of days. I haven't been there since I was a kid, so that was exciting. And then we went up to Eagle River, Wisconsin, which is where my family has it was my grandparents' old lake house that now we met there were almost 30 of like members of my extended family up there. And you guys, there was no internet. I kid you not, no Wi-Fi, no cell service for like 6 days of the trip. And for me, that was a lot. Like I was legitimately off the grid. We'd go to town to like go to the grocery store, and I'd be sitting there in the parking lot checking my email like checking in with my team. So I am thankful to my team for holding down the fort while I was gone. So tell me where you guys are going on vacation or where you've been on vacation, because it has been fun. Although it was one of those trips that you come back from and you're like, okay, I actually need a vacation from my vacation, because that was a lot. We had a 13-hour travel day on Sunday. I feel like I'm finally getting my bearings again. That's exciting. So okay, what are we talking about today? We got a bunch of people here. Tell me you're here. Let me say hi. So today we're going to talk about paying yourself. And obviously this is a topic I really enjoy because you guys, we're business owners. We should be paying ourselves, right? We should be paying ourselves, and we should be paying ourselves regularly and well. And yes, I recognize that we've just gone through a period of time that was not in the normal course of business. And so it may take a little bit of time to get back to a place where we can do that. But overall, when things are not, falling apart around us, hopefully we are able to continually pay ourselves. So we're going to talk about paying ourselves. We're going to talk about how to pay ourselves, because that's a question I get a lot. And then also I want to talk a little bit about strategy to make sure you can pay yourself. So we're gonna talk about the technicals of like, well, how do I actually like do it? And then the strategy around how to make sure that you are able to do it, that you have enough money to be able to. Okay, I'm going to say hi. So I don't know who this is. Make sure that if you're watching me in the Facebook group that you press the button above that gives StreamYard permission to see your name, so I can pull up your comments onto my screen and talk to you specifically. But that is tough. Go on vacation. Even if it's just like a weekend trip somewhere, get an Airbnb, 30 minutes from you. I feel like my mental health has needed to get out of this house. It has been so helpful for me. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jody and Natalie. I see a bunch of people. Okay, great. Okay, so let's start with talking about how do you pay yourself as a business owner? So this always presupposing this entire discussion is the fact that you have set your business up separately from your personal life. If you haven't, that is something you need to do. Definitely go get a business bank account. I recommend Bank Novo. If you are in the market, I'll put my link down below. Bank account. Sorry, I should have put these in above, but if you're interested, I love Bank Novo. That is what I use. It's totally free business banking. So you want to make sure that you have a business bank account. And the reason is that you really need to kind of think of your business totally separate. And most of you are probably already doing this. And if you weren't, maybe COVID was the reason that you realized, okay, I got to separate this out a little bit better because things are a little too commingled. Even if you had a business bank account, maybe some personal things were running through it, or vice versa. Some of your business stuff was running through your personal. Make sure that's fully separated, because it gets really sticky when you talk about how to pay yourself when things are commingled between your different accounts. Life gets so much easier when you just silo them and treat your business like a business. The only things that run through that business bank account are income and expenses related to your business, and your personal is your personal. The only things running through there are your personal income and expenses, right? So we take money out of the business house, preferably, right? We are routinely taking money out of the business house because this business house should be generating cash for us, should be generating income, profit. And then we are routinely taking that money out to be able to use in our personal life, right? So analogizing, if you were working for another company, right, you're going to take a paycheck. Now, it doesn't always come in the form of a paycheck. So we're going to talk about that. And that is going to depend on your entity structure, how you take that money out. But you should be taking money out of your business. Maybe in the very beginning, I'll give you, like in the very beginning, of your business, it takes a little while. Sometimes, depending on the type of business that you have and the business model that you have, it can take some time to be at a place where you're profitable to take money out of your business. But I can't tell you the number of people that I have talked to that have been multiple years into their business, and this is COVID aside, of course, but multiple years into their business and still have never taken a quote unquote paycheck. And we're going to talk about, when we talk about a paycheck, sometimes we're talking about it in the grander scheme of just a paycheck, meaning taking money out of my business. But there is a kind of delineation we need to make there between specifically paycheck and owner's draw. So we'll get into the technicals of that here in a minute. But I want to make sure you guys are paying yourself and that you're doing it correctly. So let's talk about the technicals. Okay. As with most things in finance, in running business finances, it is going to depend, how you pay yourself is going to depend on your entity structure. Okay. So your entity structure is going to depend how you actually take money out of your business. So the most simple entity structure is a sole proprietor, let's call it, or LLC with no SCorp election. If you're an SCorp, you probably know it. You've probably filed an election. You have a different tax filing that you do as an SCorp. So if you don't know what you are, chances are you are a sole proprietor, or maybe you filed forms to be an LLC. But we kind of default to the sole proprietor classification if you haven't filed anything differently than that. So that's typically probably what you are. If you are a sole proprietor or an LLC without an SCorp election, you likely file a Schedule C. The only difference there is if you're a partnership, you may file a different type of form. If you're a partnership, you're going to file a 1065. So go look, if you don't know what you are, go look and see what you file. But talking to my sole proprietors, LLCs, my single member LLCs specifically, who are filing just a Schedule C on their return, you are going to pay yourself entirely through owner's draw. Okay. Entirely through owner's draw. What does that mean exactly? Well, that means you don't take a quote unquote paycheck from the standpoint of you're not running payroll. A lot of people think that they need to payroll themselves. You actually can't, right? If you are a sole proprietor, LLC, anything like that, you can't payroll yourself. What do I mean by you can't payroll yourself? Well, what I mean, when you think about payroll, right? When you're running an employee's payroll, let's say, what you're going to also do as the employer is you're going to withhold taxes, and you're going to pay those taxes to the IRS and to your state taxation agency, right? So that's what you do when someone's on payroll. That's kind of what it means to payroll someone. You're only going to payroll somebody who is a W-2 employee. If you are an LLC or a sole proprietor and you've not made any kind of S election, you, my friend, are an owner of your business. You are not an employee of your business. That means you can't be on payroll. You don't get a W-2. So if you're W-2ing yourself and you're like, then you need to go and talk to your accountant and figure out how you can fix that situation. Because unless you are an SCorp or a CCorp, you should not be on your own payroll. That doesn't mean you don't pay yourself, though. You pay yourself through owner's draws. Typically, these are less, I like to do them regularly, but a lot of people do them kind of less regularly, where they just kind of look at their account, sort of figure out, what can I take out of my business right now? And for me, that's a transfer. I take owner draws and just transfers from my business account to my personal account. And I have a whole system whereby I figure out how to do that. I also teach that system. We're not going to talk about that today, though. But that is how I take my owner draws out of my account. That's how a lot of people do it. You can also write yourself a check, depending, but a lot of times a bank transfer is much easier. And in your QuickBooks system, that is going to be categorized as an equity transaction. Okay, it's not an expense when you pay yourself as an owner draw. That's equity. It's going to reduce your equity, i.e. your owner equity, i.e. your ownership in the business when you take money out. That makes sense, right? You don't own as much of the business. I mean, you always own 100%, but you don't have as much money-wise in the business if you've taken that money out. That takes out the ownership of your business and you use it to pay yourself. If you leave it in the business, right? Yes, it's higher equity, but I recommend people pay themselves because a lot of people think if they leave money in their business, that it is going to help them from a tax perspective. This is not true, my friends. This is not true, regardless of whether you're an LLC, sole proprietor, partnership, or a SCorp. Those are all pass-through entities. What does that mean? It means it doesn't matter if you leave the money in that business bank account or you take it out, you're being taxed on your profit, on your share of the profit. So if you're a 50-50 owner, you're being taxed on 50%. If you're a 100% owner, you're being taxed on 100% of the profit. Profit is just revenue minus expenses, right? So regardless of whether you leave it there or you take it out, you're going to get taxed on it anyway. So you might as well take it out if you don't think you're going to need it in your business, okay? So now it's a different story. CCorps, that is a completely different story. So I typically don't work with a lot of CCorps and I don't recommend CCorps a lot because it is double taxation. We're not going to talk about that, but you basically get taxed at the personal level and at the corporate level. Where does a C-Corp make sense? Well, a C-Corp can make sense if you leave a ton of money into your business that you plan to reinvest back into your business. Business is doing a lot of R&D, things like that, where you're like, well, I don't want to take it out because I'm going to use it, but I'm not going to use it this year. I might use it next year and the next year and the next year. Well, if that's you, a C-Corp could make sense. Okay, that's the only thing I'm going to say about C-Corps is if you leave a ton of money in your business and you don't take it out, and you do that because you're planning to use it in your business later, a C-Corp can make sense. Otherwise, however you take money out or not, it's not going to affect you. And I've had a lot of people talk about, well, what do I do with my money on the last day of the year? They're trying to figure out, do I leave it in? Do I take it out? It doesn't matter. If you're a pass-through entity, i.e. sole proprietor, LLC, partnership, S-Corp, I mean, I say take it out because I'd rather be able to use that in my personal life and pay my mortgage with it than have it just sit in my business outside of business savings that I have for specific purposes. Oh, that's a good question. So as far as C-Corp, I mean, a good amount. Like if you have significant retained earnings that you're planning to keep within your business, a C-Corp can make sense. Typically, a C-Corp is not going to make sense. Now, I don't like to give bright line rules because there are a lot of variations here. But for people, I mean, you have to be, I don't see a lot of C-Corps that make, less than a couple $1 million in revenue and are keeping that with a lot of it within their business. So, smaller businesses, it generally is not going to make a whole heck of a lot of sense to be a C-Corp. You have it's a lot more regulation. There are more filings. There's a lot more stuff you got to do. So I typically don't necessarily recommend it, but it's always something that you can explore even further with an accountant who knows your situation because there are so many different variations to run through. Okay, so that's the easy way. Pay yourself an owner draw, right? You're an LLC, a sole proprietor. You don't payroll yourself. You don't put yourself on W-2. You can still set up like your bank might do regular transfers, right? Like just a transfer from your bank account, but that wouldn't be a payroll transaction. You aren't withholding taxes on your own pay. Instead, you should be paying estimated taxes. We won't talk about that right now, but estimated quarterly taxes, if you're a profitable business, are generally what you should be paying, especially if you're a sole proprietor or LLC. That's how you pay your taxes throughout the year. You can avoid some penalties and things like that versus just waiting until the end of the year. The bigger you get, the more that's going to make a difference. Okay. So this is where I'm going. So now let's talk about S-Corps. Great transition. So I have an S-Corp and do owner's draw to pay myself, or should I do owner's compensation? Okay. So S-Corps, and this is one of the biggest things that I see S-Corp owners not do correctly. Okay. So when you are an S-Corp, you are required by the IRS to pay yourself a reasonable salary. What does that mean? Okay. When we talk about salary, paycheck, payroll, That all means money that is W-2 money. That is money that you are paying yourself via a payroll. Usually you're going to use a payroll tool for that. I do recommend even S-Corp owners, when it's just them, use something like Gusto. Gusto has a special program that's just like for one person owners where you can payroll yourself. I recommend it. I don't know if I have any of my team members on here. If anybody wants to drop the link to Gusto, it's just jamietrull.com/Gusto. If you need a payroll service, that could be really, really good for you. It's pretty cheap, and you can actually put yourself on payroll, and you would pay yourself a reasonable compensation. So what does it mean to pay yourself a reasonable compensation? That's kind of the question, right? Typically, I tell people, now, first and foremost, work with your accountant. That's a really good place to start with reasonable compensation, because you're going to want to document it well and make sure. Oh, there you go. Cool. There you go. There's a $25 SCorp program. Yep. So you can get a cheaper SCorp program out there from Gusto. As April, who's one of my preferred vendors, says. Okay. So how it's going to work, though, when you're figuring out your reasonable compensation is usually I just say, okay, talk to your accountant first and foremost, obviously, but also look at what would other people in the work that you do in your business. So the difference with an S-Corp, and again, this is not a discussion on S-Corp versus LLCs, because there's a lot, but one of the differences specifically in how you pay yourself is that an S-Corp looks at you when you are an S-Corp as you are both an employee if you're working in your business. Now, you don't have to pay yourself reasonable compensation if you own an S-Corp that you don't work in. But if you're the only person, right? Or if you only have a couple of staff, if you're working in your business, you do have to pay yourself a reasonable compensation. Okay. The other part, so you're an employee and you're also an investor kind of thing. That's how I like to look at it. Like, you're also an owner of the company. There's passive part to the income that you're making as well. So the active part of your income, the income that you're making by working within your business, that's what you would pay yourself as reasonable compensation. You could go look and see what other people who are in businesses maybe and doing that sort of work would be making. I know that gets a little bit tough because it's so hard to separate our job as a business owner and our job within our business, right? But we have to kind of parse that out. And that's something that an accountant can also help you do. And look at things like salary or salaries.com, something like that, pay.com. There's a couple of different services out there that you can go look at and see find different job titles, find a job title that like kind of makes sense for what you do in your business. And that would be your reasonable compensation. And then any amounts you take out above that would be owner draw. But you are required, and this is one of the things that kind of got people with the PPP loans and things like that when they were S-Corps, they couldn't get PPP loans because they didn't have any W-2 wages. They didn't pay themselves a salary. And because of that, they basically, because these were paycheck loans, right? You were saying by not taking a salary, what you're saying is, I don't work in my business. I'm just an investor in my business. Well, for PPP, they weren't going to come and give an investor money to keep their paycheck up, right? So you can't kind of have it both ways. You're either, typically you're both, right? You're an employee and an investor. The best tax benefits, the more you can take out in draws and the less in compensation, the better it is from a tax perspective. But the IRS knows that and they watch for that. So if you're 100% taking everything out in draws and no reasonable compensation, it's actually a pretty big IRS red flag. So I would definitely start paying yourself something on reasonable compensation, withholding those taxes, all the things that you would do if you had an employee on payroll. So that's really the difference. Also, as a C-Corp, you're typically going to have the same thing happen where you're part employee if you're working in your business and you're part investor if you are also reaping the benefits of kind of the more passive parts of your business, the business building. It doesn't make sense to be an S-Corp, by the way, if you don't have enough to pay yourself a reasonable salary. If you're not making enough in profits to pay yourself a reasonable salary based on what reasonable salary would be, it doesn't make sense because the tax benefits kick in once you're paying yourself above and beyond that reasonable salary. Okay. Let's see. So that's kind of the how. That's like the technically, like, here's how you do this, depending on the type of entity you are. But then, like, the next question I get is, but how? But like, how do I pay myself because I feel like all my money is going back into my business? Or how do I know how much I can pay myself because I feel like I don't have a good sense of like, if I'm going to need this money, do I keep it in the business? Do I take it out of the business? What do I do? This is kind of my bread and butter. I love kind of cash flow management. I think it's really, really important that we are always prioritizing paying ourselves in our business. You wouldn't work in a company for free. You wouldn't go to work for somebody else for free. Don't work for yourself for free. Don't work for yourself for free, you guys. Your time is worth money. Your time is worth money. And you need to be able to be making a profit off of that. So if you're not making a livable wage, something is going on within your business that needs to be addressed. If you're not making a routine profit, if money is coming in, now if the problem, obviously sometimes the problem is just lack of business, that's a different problem. But if the problem is money is coming in and I'm just not able to pay myself, I'm working all the time and I'm not able to pay myself as much as I feel like I should for the amount of work that I'm putting in, something is amiss within your business. And it's not about getting more clients. It's not about getting more clients. That can come later, but first you got to get financially fit. First, you got to be able to manage the money really, really well and have a process for it and a plan for it within your business. And once you have done that, then go out and chase your clients and get more. But otherwise, if you're not managing things the way that you need to within your business, you're just going to run yourself on a hamster wheel and you're going to burn out and you're going to be done. And you're going to say, you know what? I'm closing this business. It wasn't worth it. I work all the time. I never see my kids. I barely make, as much as I feel like I should make, or maybe not even anything. Don't do that to yourselves. Don't do that to yourselves. Again, it can feel like that in the beginning. It's a little bit of a slog in the beginning, but as you've had a business for a little while, you want to make sure that you're routinely profiting off of that business to make sure that it makes sense. You're putting in more risk as well, right? You want to reap the rewards. So for me, it's all in planning. I have a, trademarked process called profit planning, and it's profit with 2 F's. And I need to see if I can get you guys the sheet for it, but I think it's on my website too. But what you basically do with profit planning is you are going to essentially create that personalized plan for yourself. When you make money, what percentage goes to pay yourself? What percentage is going to go for saving for a rainy day? Because we know that's really, really important. And I think we know how important it is even more now. So there's a portion that's going to go to a rainy day. There's a portion that is going to go to maybe charitable givings if that's something important to you. Maybe it's paying off debt. Maybe it's saving for the future through retirement planning. There are various different things. So, and everybody's is going to be different. Your profit plan is not somebody else's profit plan. So if anybody is interested, it's not open yet, but it will be open soon. The waitlist for my financial fitness formula, one of the things, it's just, one part of financial fitness formula is on this profit planning piece. But even before we get there, right? Because before we can figure out like how to pay ourselves, we have to maximize our profit. So the beginning of the first several modules of financial fitness formula, my program, are all about maximizing profit. Then you figure out what you do with the profit to grow your business and to pay yourself and to set yourself up for the future and to make a bigger impact on the world, right? Because that's what we all want to do as business owners. We want to make an impact as best we can on the people around us. Hopefully a positive impact, right? And so that is, oh, yay. Thanks, April. I knew somebody would get me on this. So yeah, you can go to balancecfo.mykajabi.com/FFF. It's also just Jamie Trull. .com/FFF if you go through that way. But that's for the waitlist. That right now it's not open. It's going to be open soon. So you're going to be hearing more about this. We only open once or twice a year. So we haven't opened since January. We're going to open again pretty soon. So but it's only open for a week for the next cohort to join Financial Fitness Formula, where we're going to talk about how to maximize your profitability, how to pay yourself more and reliably and feel good about it, how to have a plan for your cash flow, how to forecast your future, right? We get so focused on like, oh, I just got to get through today. I got to get through. I don't know about you. I've fallen into that get through. I just got to get through this. I got to get through this. I got to get through this. Let's start looking forward. We're putting COVID as much as we can, right, into the rear view mirror. And what happened with all of that? We're going to put it in the rear view mirror. We're going to start looking forward. We're going to start preparing ourselves, not only for the next thing that's going to happen, because there will be a next thing, but we're going to prepare ourselves to grow our business and to really be successful and thrive in our business. And so I want you guys to join me there. Also, I have a quiz. And the quiz, I think, is linked above, or it's just jamietrull.com/quiz. If you have not taken my quiz will give you your personalized next step toward a more profitable business. So the next step is not the same for everyone. Again, your business is your business. It is not cookie cutter. So what you need to do to make your business more profitable might not be the same thing that someone else needs to do. And so I want you to take the quiz. It's totally free. It takes like 3 minutes because it's 10 questions, and you will get my recommendation at the back end for what you need to do with your business. Oh, I love you. Thank you. Make sure you hit that button so I can see who you are, Facebook user, but I appreciate it. Yes, I have amazing preferred vendors like April who are there to help you out. Okay. And yes, if anybody else signs up for Gusto, I do have a link for $100 off. You can just go to jamietrull.com/gusto as well. If you're ever looking for a referral link from me that might get you some extra, a lot of my referral links give you extra things. They don't cost you anything. They just give you extra stuff, and I get stuff. Yay, win, win, win. You can just go to jamietrull.com/that thing. So that's the little hack. jamietrull.com/gusto, jamietrull.com/QuickBooks, jamietrull.com/Novo, whatever you're looking for. Usually you can find it that way. Okay. Okay, I'm going to put up my quiz link too, jamietrull.com/quiz. Go figure. So this is where I want y'all to go take the quiz. Literally, it takes 3 minutes, and you might get some really useful information out of it. I also want you to go check out FFF Waitlist as well, if that sounds like something that you're interested in. And you guys are awesome. So tell me, let's see. Tell me your biggest struggle. I've got a couple of minutes and I like to talk to you guys. Tell me your biggest struggle with paying yourself. What has been the biggest struggle? Is it the actual effect, like figuring out how to do it? Is it figuring out how to get enough money to be able to pay yourself? Let me know while y'all are here. I'm going to scroll through and make sure that I got to all the questions. Let's see. Oh, I missed one. Let's see. I'm gonna read Jen's. I have to like do this with long comments. Okay. Travel business Jen has, and despite starting slowly this year, you'll just about cover expenses this year as of right now. Great. So that means you're going into the profit place. You have an EIDL. Okay. Yep. Hoarding cash. I get it. I think that's what we're all like kind of dealing with right now, is just that fear of spending too much. And PPP to pay myself through the end of August. What would be your suggestion? Should I pay myself now, or should I wait and focus on paying back EIDL? I am a pretty big fan. So in this case, I pay yourself with profits. Don't pay yourself with debt, unless you absolutely have to, because what you're doing by paying yourself with the EIDL. Now, PPP is different because PPP is forgivable. It's actually meant to pay yourself. So that's a completely different story. But your EIDL has to be paid back. So what you're doing by paying yourself is you're saying, okay, I'm going to take, X amount of money now, and then I'm going to pay X amount of money back with interest later. So unless you absolutely need that, don't do it. It's financing your own paycheck, right? It's financing your own draws. So I'm a pretty big fan of not doing that. I'm a bigger fan of either paying back your EIDL or using that within your business to help your business. Right now, you can't use it for like expansion, but if there are things that could generate an income for you later down the line, then that could be a good use of that money. But I generally tell people, unless like you got to pay your mortgage or feed your kids, that's a different story. You got to do what you got to do. But remember, there are EIDL rules. You still have to pay that back. You can't take more than you normally would out of your business. You probably shouldn't pay yourself with EIDL and PPP at the same time. That's double dipping, right? So there's a lot of rules. I'm a fan of don't pay yourself with EIDL unless it is like emergency city where you have to do it. Otherwise, I'd make a plan to pay it back. And you may not be able to pay it back right now because, again, if you're not generating a ton from your business yet, but make a plan to pay that back to make sure that you can do it. Thankfully, you should still be in the deferral period. So while interest isn't, or while payments aren't due, interest is still accruing though. So that's important to know. Let's see. Okay. Okay, great. So, good. I'm glad you find it helpful, Jason. Yes. So paying New York taxes. Yeah, that's New York and California are the two that have like, it's complicated. So I know even some of my preferred vendors work with other businesses, but not necessarily those in New York and California, because it is it's a lot more involved. We'll say that. I'm in Tennessee. I do not have an income tax, so that's kind of nice. Okay, let's see. I'm a single member LLC, and I've had a combined business personal account, and I've been squeaking by during tax season. But this year, my business is profiting significantly. I need to get my crap together. Yes, go get your business account. Go get your Novo account or whatever it is. Definitely make sure to get those separated first. That's the first best step. It's also going to help you so much when it comes tax time, because you're not going to be sitting there going through trying to find all your business expenses. They're all going to be in one place. It's going to make it easier to have an accounting software like QuickBooks, which I also recommend. Here, I'll put up my jamietrull.com/Novo, which is the bank that I use. It's totally free business banking, which can be hard to find, you guys. A lot of business banking is not free. It is online only though. So if you need to have like, if you deal a lot in cash, that may not be a great bank for you. But if most of what you do is not in cash, then it's a great bank to get started with to get everything separated out. Also, okay, I'm going to do the shameless plug because you are a perfect person for my basics course, which is available. Actually, I'm going to give you guys, because you're here, I'm going to give you guys a little tip. Okay, give you guys a little tip. So I have a basics course. It is available on my website for $297. It goes through all the basics of, getting business and personal separated out, talking about what are financial statements, understanding a P&L, understanding a balance sheet, understanding what taxes you need to pay. All of those types of things are covered within this basics course. It's a 3-module course. I also have a bonus module that's all about SCorps that comes with it as a bonus. It's great and easy and just boils down to what you need to know. But if you're at that place where you're like, I don't know, I feel like I don't know enough about the fundamentals, I need you to take my quiz first. Because, spoiler alert, if you go through the quiz and it recommends a specific answer for you around fundamentals, you will get a quick opportunity to get a discount on that basics course that is not available if you go find it anywhere else. So I'm just telling y'all, because y'all are here right now, so you get to know that. But if you go to jamietrull.com/quiz, it's only one of the quiz outcomes, but it's the one that if you need more help with like the fundamentals, right? And understanding just the fundamentals and the basics and getting things set up, it will recommend that to you. And then it will tell you also about my basics course and give you a one-time only. Yes. Oh, I love it. Yay. Good. I'm so glad. Yeah. So we're trying out a new thing. So it's like, it is, a really short-term discount to try to get people to take action. And so I'm glad you bought it. Yay. Hopefully you find it really, really helpful. I just think it's a great place to start. Okay. Thanks, April. So yeah, make sure. Here's the big takeaway from today. Go take the quiz. It'll tell you what your next step to a more profitable business is. It will give you some recommendations about where to go from there and resources to take a look at. So hopefully you guys find that really helpful. And hopefully this was helpful for thinking about a different way around kind of paying yourself and getting your head around all of that. So I will be back. I think I'm here I've been kind of in and out. So it hasn't been every week, but we should be on. I think I'll be back pretty much every week for the foreseeable future now, hopefully, because I've missed you guys. I've taken a lot of trips, but I've missed you guys. We will talk soon. I'll talk to you guys on the flip side. Did I just say that? Who says on the flip side? Anyway, bye guys.